Tipping is one of the most important skills that you'll ever have. It is really, really essential. It doesn't seem so. It seems trivial. It's just tipping, you know, giving a couple bucks here and there. No. Tipping is key, okay? I mean, in your day-to-day, in your business travels, in everything, you'd be surprised how important tipping is going to be. And you'll find that tipping can extrapolate into bigger issues insofar as business is concerned, okay? So let's talk about tipping. Now, there are several aspects to tipping that you got to understand, okay? I mean, but let's start with the simplest, the most bare bones. How do you tip? Well, there's no trick to it. See, when you're going to tip somebody, before you have to tip them, before you're there waiting, where the guy is waiting or whatever, you get some money out of your pocket, right? You have a bill in hand, you put it in your hand like this, okay? You curve up your pinky and your ring finger and your thumb to hold it, okay? And you keep your hand down by your side, okay? You don't make a big to-do about it. But make sure, of course, that you have your hand like firm like this, okay? I mean, one time I actually lost the goddamn money I was gonna tip because it fucking blew away, right? And there's all kinds of shit happens in life. So anyway, that happened to me once. It was embarrassing and funny, but okay, lesson learned. Hold it like this, down by your side. When the guy has finished his service and he's talking to you and looking you in the eye, you reach forward with your hand, palm down, with your right hand, which will force him to have his right hand palm up. And you put the money in his hand and you slide your hand away. And he'll take it and pocket it, and that'll be that. That'll be the transaction. Now, if it's ever in a situation where you got to use your credit card, you know, to pay something, let me just put it here so it's kind of hidden so you don't see my my credit card number, right? When you got to pay somebody, like that, say, you got to pay somebody with a credit card, right? You take the credit card, take the bill, okay? And you don't wrap the credit card in the bill or do anything stupid like that. No. You just take it like this, the bill and the credit card, right? And you just slip it to them, like that. Usually to a booking agent of some sort, you know, a hotel or car rental. You slide it over like that. They'll take your credit card, and with their right hand, they'll take your card, and their left hand, they'll take the money and slip it away into their pocket. Okay? That's how you tip. That's the actual mechanics of tipping. Okay? Now, practice it. Like any skill, you got to practice it. You practice it with friends or whomever. You practice it until you're smooth. Okay? There's nothing more pathetic than awkward tipping. Okay? It's embarrassing for everybody involved. Okay? So practice doing it smoothly. Practice it enough with a friend or whomever so that you can just slip that money in and it'll be just a smooth transaction. Okay? Now that's how you tip. But there are a lot of other questions as to tipping. There's the question of, you know, when do you tip? Who do you tip? And why do you tip? And of course, how much do you tip? Okay, so let's start with the why question. The why question is always the best question because that way you can figure out what's what. Now, what's going on with the tip? Why are you tipping somebody? I mean, presumably when you tip a waiter at a restaurant, you tip a booking agent at a hotel or something like that. I mean, these people are employed, right? I mean, they are drawing a salary, right? Maybe not a great salary, but they are getting something, right? Of course they are. They're earning a salary, at least minimum wage. So why are you tipping them? Well, tipping is also called gratuity, and the etymology of gratuity means a thank you. You are basically giving them money as a thank you for the service that they have done to you. So in a very real sense, what you are doing is you are giving these service workers a bribe, right? You are giving them money off the books, off the table for the services they have done for you, right? It's a form of legalized bribery. Well, you're going to find in life that money is very necessary. It's a necessary grease to have things happen for you, okay? You'll find in life that money, well applied, can solve all kinds of problems. And insofar as tipping, well, this is sort of like the first step in learning that very important lesson, and that's why I'm doing this video. You have to know why you're tipping. Why are you tipping? to smooth the relationship, to smooth the transaction, the interaction, okay? That's why you're tipping. Because the person you are tipping is not the company or the corporation or the restaurant. No, they are an employee of that company or corporation or restaurant or whatever. They are the person, the interface between you and that company or corporation or restaurant or whatever. So you are basically giving this little legalized bribe in order to smooth the interaction, grease the wheels. See what I mean? So that's why you give a tip. That's why it's important that you give a tip. Now, when do you give a tip? Here I disagree with most people, because most people say that you should give a tip at the end of the interaction. I mean, for instance, you go to a restaurant, you have a waiter, and the waiter's pretty good, so at the end, when the bill comes, you pay the bill and you leave a little extra because of the good service, right? That's the normal thing. I never do that. I never, ever give money at the end. I always give money at the beginning of the interaction. And I'll explain why. You see, when you give money at the end, okay, say you go to a restaurant and you have a waiter. Now that waiter is going to be serving you and bringing you your food and doing whatever it is to keep you happy. And that waiter has the expectation that at the end, you will leave a tip, hopefully a good tip. So from the waiter's point of view, it's, fingers crossed that this guy will give me a good tip, right? Right, because nothing's happened. The waiter has to do everything. And what happens if you're a lousy tipper? The waiter will have jumped through all these hoops, and at the end, no tip or a lousy tip, right? So there's the expectation on the point of view of the waiter that at the end of the meal, the waiter will get a good tip. But as the evening progresses, maybe the waiter gets the vibe that you're not going to be a good tipper, maybe whatever happens, and the waiter just doesn't serve you very well, right? Because they might have other priorities or other things might pop up, and the waiter might think, I'm not going to really go out of my way to serve this guy, to wait on this person properly, because, maybe I'll get a tip at the end of the night, but, maybe I'm getting the vibe that the guy's a lousy tipper, so screw him, right? Right, that can happen. But if you tip the waiter as soon as you arrive, as soon as you're seated at your table, what happens? There is no longer the expectation that you will tip. Hopefully you will tip. No. There is now an obligation because you have paid him already. You slipped a 20 into his hand. So that waiter, it's not that, he's going to be hoping, fingers crossed, that, you're going to give him money at the end. No. He's got the money right now. He's got this little bill. This little bill is in his hand. It's in his pocket. You see what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, the relationship between you and the waiter is not one of, I hope he leaves me a good tip. No. Once you pay him, the waiter will feel obliged to give you good service because you tipped him already, okay? So he's going to do everything necessary to take care of you because he's got that money in his pocket. You paid him. You paid him something for something that he hasn't delivered. Think of it from your point of view. What has happened to you when you hope that somebody's going to pay you money at the end of a transaction? Do you go out of your way to work hard? Yeah, maybe not. It'll depend on a whole host of factors. But if somebody pays you right off the bat, immediately, up front, they pay you 20 bucks, what are you going to do? You're going to work. You're going to work harder because you've got the money in your hand. He paid you. That's human nature. That's how people operate. When they have money in their hand, they are going to work harder for you. Right off the bat. You see? That's why I always tip the second I meet the person. Immediately. They tell me, this is going to be your waiter, sir? Your name is John? Here, John, thank you very much. I hope you can take care of us. And I slip him a 20 right off the bat. A 20 or a 50 or a 100. Whatever is necessary, whatever is basically 10% of the expected bill. I slip it to him right away. Okay? That's the when of tipping. Never at the end of the transaction. You slip it to them at the beginning of the transaction and that guy is going to go through every hoop. Your meal is going to be served immediately. Everything will be spick and span and it'll be lovely for you if you pay them right off the bat, because it creates an obligation. Understand that, okay? So there's the when. Now, the next question is who. A lot of guys are kind of stupid about this question of the who to tip. A lot of guys show up with a roll of bills and they'll just shower everybody with money, which is stupid. I mean, if you're going to be slipping 20 bucks to everybody you encounter at a hotel, pretty soon, it's going to cost you a couple of $100 and you'll have nothing to show for it. Let me explain. Suppose you arrive at a hotel, right, in a taxi. You took a taxi from the airport to the hotel, and so you give 20 bucks tip to the taxi driver, or maybe 10. Okay, fine. 10 bucks to the taxi driver, and 10 bucks to the porter, and then 10 bucks to the concierge, and then 10 bucks to the desk agent, okay? And then 10 bucks to the bellhop who takes your bags upstairs, right? To your room, to your average room, because you booked a standard room and you are in a standard room, right? And you blew 10 on the taxi, 10 on the porter, 10 on the concierge, 10 on the booking agent, and 10 on the bellhop. 50 bucks. And what did you get for it? Nothing. You didn't get anything for it. See? Because they were going to smile for you anyway. They were going to do all those services anyway for you. You didn't get anything for the 50 bucks that you dropped. You see what I mean? See, if you'd gotten something, well, that would be nice, but you didn't get anything, okay? So, who should you have tipped? Well, in that transaction where you had 5 people, there was only one person to tip. And that was the booking agent, the desk agent, okay? That's who you tip when you go to a hotel. Let me explain. See, you arrive at the airport, get on a cab, and the cab takes you to the hotel, right? The cab is going to charge you the meter, right? Why are you going to be tipping him? Did he do anything for you? No. He just took you, right? And he's charging you the meter. So, why tip him? There's no reason. You pay the meter. Now, the guy who's the porter who's taking the bags from the taxi into the hotel, why tip him? He's getting a salary for what he's doing. He doesn't need a tip. He's getting a minimum wage or whatever, okay? So what exactly is the point? And if he gives you a long face, well, you take the bags yourself. I mean, who gives a shit, right? Because he is not going to change your experience at the hotel, right? Neither will the concierge, because the concierge, people think that the concierge is the king of a hotel. Not really, because they have a fairly limited purview within a hotel, okay? A concierge can do things for you outside of the hotel, but in the hotel, it's kind of limited, right? Housekeeping is much more important than the concierge, right? Right. So, it's pointless to give money to the porter. It's pointless to give money to the concierge. But you get to the desk agent. Now, the desk agent at a hotel, he is the true king of that hotel. And let me explain. See, you booked a standard room, right? And say for the sake of argument that the standard room is $100 a night. Just say. Okay, so you arrive there, you're paying $100 a night for a standard room. And the booking agent, what can the booking agent do? A booking agent can upgrade your room from a standard room to a double room or even like a suite. A booking agent can give you freebies, free minibar. A booking agent can see to it that you put on the club level, so you have all those free food, on the club level, right? A booking agent can truly affect your experience at the hotel. He really can. I mean, actually, he is the key person when you arrive at a hotel. He's the guy you tip. You don't tip the taxi, you don't tip the porter, you don't tip the concierge. You tip the desk agent, the booking agent, the guy there who's going to control your experience. You go to a restaurant, for example. You don't tip the maitre d'. Who gives a shit about the maitre d'? It's the waiter. The waiter is going to control your experience. You're going to rent a car, right? Who do you tip? The booking agent, again, because that person at the counter, they can give you an upgrade. You took out the subcompact cheapy car at $40 a day, right? And they can upgrade you to a sedan or whatever, or some nice car for free, right? The booking agent is the person that you tip, and you tip them up front, right away. I'll give you a specific example of something that I did once, because I always tip desk agents at hotels. Wherever I go, I always tip them right off the bat I usually tip them roughly, 10 to 20% of whatever I expect to spend at that hotel. And I will tell you a specific example. One time I was in Hamburg. I was going to spend a week there. I was there with a girlfriend. And we'd booked like just a standard room, right? And the standard room, I think it cost something like 200 euros a night or something like that, right? And so we're going to be there a week. I arrived and I took my credit card, right? My credit card, and I gave him 200 euros right away. 200 euros right off the bat with my credit card. 200 euros is roughly $250, or was at that point. So the guy took my 200 euros and he upgraded my room from a standard room to a suite. Now, here's the thing. The difference in price between the standard room and the suite was 500 euros a night. It was great. I was staying there for 7 nights. 500 euros times 7 is 3,500 euros. I slipped him 200 euros and I got a savings of 3,300 euros. It was a fantastic week. I mean, we were going to stay at the nice enough room, but instead we got the suite, and the suite was club lounge and free minibar and all kinds of other goodies. We even got like free robes, okay? It was a great investment. It was the best time I ever did that move of tipping the desk agent right off the bat. You see, you tip the desk agent right off the bat and he can make things happen for you, okay? That's why you tip him. That's the whole point, okay? Because, as I said before, tipping, for all intents and purposes, is legalized bribery. Now, in a hotel, right, most of the time there is a certain amount of vacancy in the hotel. Hotels are rarely fully booked, okay? And the rooms that are least booked are the suites, obviously. And the suites, they're the least booked, but the thing is, see, every day they have to be cleaned anyway. The expense of the room does not change, whether it's occupied or unoccupied, right? So from the point of view of the desk agent, he's not actually doing anything. He's just, keying in new information, and plop, you go from a standard room to presto changeo, a suite. It doesn't cost anybody anything, okay? And who's happy? You're happy because now you have a suite instead of a standard room. And the desk agent, he sure as shit is happy because he's got 200 euros in his pocket, right? And of course, he has the expectation that you'll take care of him before you leave. And of course, in that situation, I certainly took care of the guy with another 200. Why not? For 400 euros, I had a fantastic time at this hotel. And the thing is, see, the next time I go to that hotel, he's going to remember me, okay? I'm one customer he will never forget, okay? And I won't forget him either. And the next time I'm there, I'm going to spot him a couple of 100 euros because I know he's going to take care of me. You see what's going on, the dynamic. You see how who you give the money to, the tip to, can alter your experience. In the first example, the guy tipped the taxi driver, he tipped the porter, he tipped the concierge, the desk agent, and the bellboy. He tipped them $10, you can make it euros each, and he got nothing out of it. I tipped 200 euros to the right guy, and I got, an experience that I'll never forget. You see what I mean? You do that all the time. You always identify who controls your experience. If you identify who is controlling your experience and tip that person well so that they remember it. I mean, you don't get chintzy on them, okay? Relative to the experience's cost, okay? 10%, 20%, that's how much you pay them. At this hotel I was going to be staying, I planned on spending, 1,500 euros. I spent a little bit more than that. I spent, 15%, 12%, whatever it is. And for that money, I got a huge improvement in my experience. That happens every time. Every time. Identify who can alter and improve your experience and tip that person immediately and tip that person well. And problem solved. Now, the final issue is how much. How much should you tip? My experience, as I said, has been, 10 to 20% upfront. And if the experience that you get for that 10, 20% is really good, hit them at the end of it for another 10 to 20%. don't be chintzy. Okay, don't slip like $5. And from my experience at least, I never tip anything less than 10 of that currency. Okay, 10 euros, 10 pounds, $10. Never less than that, because 5 or 1 is kind of like chintzy and pathetic. If you're going to tip, tip well. If you feel that they earned a tip of $10, pounds, euros, or whatever, or more, then tip them. But if it's just some random service, I don't see the point of tipping them. And you can say, well, you're cheap. Well, so what? You know, this morality of being cheap or generous, it's just stupid. Who gives a shit if you're cheap or not? You want to be effective in your tipping. If you're getting an improved experience at minimal cost, that's effective. You know, tipping random people that you do not know and you will likely never see again, what exactly is the point of that? I do not understand that. I do not understand, you know, tipping 10 to 20% to the taxi driver that you'll never see again. Tipping 10 to 20% to some random porter or this person or that person. People who do not affect your experience. No, that I think is foolish. Tip generously, but tip the people who affect your experience. Now, here are a few tips that I've learned the hard way, some of them. Always tip older guys. You identify that this desk agent or this waiter is going to affect your experience, well, you tip, if he's older, an older guy, you tip him and he'll come across. He'll take care of you. He'll know what to do. Ditto with an older woman. An older woman, you tip her well, she'll jump through any hoop. An older woman will do more for you than an older guy, okay? I don't know why that is, but that's the case. But paradoxically, if it's a young woman, she's not going to do shit for you. I'll tell you specifically. One time, I was in Berlin. Again, it was Berlin, and I was staying, I don't know, 4 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, something like that. And I was dumb enough. There was this young girl at the front desk. You know, typical, you know, tall, busty, cheerful German girl, right? And she had like red hair. And nice hairdo, and she was nicely dressed with a big smile, right? And I slip her my credit card with 100 euros. You know what she said? She said, "Thank you, sir." And she didn't do shit for me. I mean, she just did nothing, okay? I mean, she didn't give me like a free mini bar or a better room or anything. Nothing, zero, zippo, right? Young women think that if you tip them, you're just like super nice and polite. They don't understand, they don't come across. They do not understand the obligation that has been incurred, okay? And they just pocket the money with a smile, you know? I mean, it's so goddamn funny. I mean, I was like, whoa, you know, because I'd always done this. I always, you know, the credit card with 100 or 200, depending on how long I was staying and all the rest of it. A credit card with a bill, with money. And I always got something for it. I would hand in the credit card. You know, at worst, it would be something like, "Oh, sir, we are truly fully booked, but you know, don't worry about the minibar. It's paid, all of it, as much as you want every day of your stay," or something like that. And that alone, you know, would have been worth the $100 or 100 euros or 100 pounds I'd slipped to the desk agent. But in this case, in Berlin, this happened to me like in 2011, 2012. This dumb girl just took the money and didn't do anything. And that's how I learned the lesson. And I've talked to other guys about this, yeah. When it's a young woman, she'll just take the money and not realize the obligation that she's incurred. Okay, all right? Young men will understand it, especially those guys who are like, you could tell that they're like hustlers. They're really hardworking and they're hustling and they're like, you know, they're kind of shifty and they got their little schemes and little things going on at a hotel or restaurant or wherever it is that they're working. Right, those guys, you slip him 100 and he'll know exactly what's going on and he'll come across in a big way, okay? Now, if you slip money to somebody, and this usually happens with the desk agent, either at a car rental or the hotel, you slip money to the desk agent and they return the money, don't worry about it, okay? Usually they'll return the money to you with a, "Oh, sir, thank you very much, but I can't accept this," all right? Something like that, and it'll be fairly obvious. Now, they're not going to hurt you or treat you badly. On the contrary, they're going to treat you well. But more likely than not, what's going on is that their supervisor is watching them. And at that moment, you just handed the money at the wrong moment. The first time that this happened to me, and it's happened to me maybe 2 or 3 times, not more than that. The first time that this happened to me, I was sort of like a little worried. And I thought to myself, you know, well, you know, for a brief fraction of a second, I thought to myself, what, are they going to kick me out of the hotel? Am I not going to be allowed to stay because I tried to tip the guy beforehand? And no, that has nothing to do with it. And I realized, there was like a little glance between the desk agent and some other guy, and I realized that some other guy was the owner of the hotel where I was staying, okay? And the owner had his eye on his desk people because he knows scams. I mean, people who work at hotels, they know the scams that are going on, okay? And so the point I'm trying to make is that if you get the money back, okay, they return the money, don't worry about it. They're not going to treat you badly, and they're not going to kick you out of the hotel. And more likely than not, if you catch that same person at a better time, a more opportune time, okay, you can slip them the cash and they might be able to help you out. But the problem there is that, see, if you can't get that help at the beginning of your stay, it's almost impossible that later in your stay, if you're going to spend more than a single night, later on they'll be able to change your room to something better. That's not going to happen, okay? So if that happens, that was bad luck, and that's that, and you're just going to get the room that you're going to get, okay? But the desk agent will still try to help you out because, like, in a hotel, they always say that all rooms are exactly the same, and that's not really true. There's always some room that's a little bit bigger, with a slightly better view, just a little bit cozier or what have you. And they'll try to set you up, even if they return the money to you, because they recognize that you're trying to come across, trying to take care of people, and they'll want to try to take care of you, even though the transaction failed. You see what I mean? So anyway, this is what I have to say about tipping. It's important. Don't fuck around and don't be chintzy, okay? Like I said, always tip at least 10 units of the currency, 10 euros, 10 pounds, $10. And don't be shy about going up. It is better to be a little bit over generous than to be chintzy and cheap. But don't tip everybody. Don't tip willy-nilly. Don't tip like you're just handing out money to strangers. No. Tip the guy who's gonna help you. Because this is to improve your experience, whatsoever that experience may be. A final note. Tipping is very important because it teaches you the skill of applying money strategically. Because a lot of times what happens is that people think that you need a great deal of money to have a great experience. That's not true. Sometimes with very little money applied correctly at the right place, at the right moment, that money put into the right hand, you can have a fantastic experience. Think of the trip that I took to Hamburg, where I spent a whole week at a luxury suite. It was fantastic. I mean, it was just a magical experience. It was an unforgettable experience. And all it cost me was a couple of €100. Okay, it's an experience that I'm not going to forget. You see what I'm saying? Think in those terms. Think that it's money well applied that can improve your life, your experience. Learn the art of tipping, the art and skill of tipping. It's important. Okay, and let me see. I'm trying to think. Well, this kind of thing. I'm trying to think of anything else I should say about this issue. But it's really an issue of experience. Go out there, do it. Do it multiple times. And you're going to get burned a few times. Don't worry about it. It's part of the learning process. Go out there, tip people, learn how to do it. You do it a few times and you'll be an expert. Trust me, because it's like the important skills in life. Practice makes perfect.